So if you've got the roid rage, if your booty is feeling sore, then you can tuck these. Is that why they're called tucks? Hello to all of you beautiful birthing people. Welcome back to my channel. So the last video that I did was on cesarean births, 10 unexpected things that you didn't know, 10 things that you didn't know about C-sections. And so what I wanted to do today was do a video on what to pack in your hospital bag if you're having a cesarean birth. Now, about a third of births in the United States are abdominal births, and while sometimes you have an urgent or an unscheduled or even an emergent cesarean birth when you were expecting a vaginal birth, a lot of times with repeat cesarean births or with a known malpresentation of baby, like a baby who's lying transverse or breech, you know going in that you're going to be having a cesarean birth. So I'm really excited to be partnering again with Wumblekin for this video. So they have recently revamped their labor, postpartum, and pregnancy boxes with more goodies for you guys. I have a code if you want to use it. It's ZABE20 for 20% off, and I believe it gets you free shipping as well. But they do not have a cesarean box, and people commented on one of my last videos, you know, I really wish that they had a cesarean box, and I totally hear you, and they do too. It's definitely in their thought process, something that they're working on, but their labor box, actually literally everything in it would work perfectly for a cesarean birth as well. So I'm going to show you what's in the box as well as what I have added to create your perfect cesarean birth hospital bag. And I do want to say, I have not had a cesarean birth, so I also posted on my Instagram to get feedback from you guys, and I heard a lot of what you were saying, and I actually have a few things in this hospital bag that I previously have said not to bring to the hospital. I'm not above saying when I'm wrong, and I hear you and I see you. So for all of you guys who are having your babies via cesarean birth, this is for you. And if you're pregnant and you don't know yet the route your baby will choose to enter this world, this video also might be helpful. Just some things to have in the back of your mind. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So I've got everything packed in this diaper bag that comes in the Wumblekin box. This was in their last labor box as well, and this is like the best diaper bag. I use it currently. I really like a backpack style diaper bag, particularly if you've had an abdominal surgery. It's really nice to have that backpack pulling evenly when you're wearing it. Obviously, you're not going to be picking up things that are super heavy initially, but I think wearing a backpack versus something that goes just on one shoulder better helps distribute weight. And when you've had, you know, major abdominal surgery, that can be really useful. There are two things that come in this box that I don't think that you need to take to the hospital, but I think can be valuable if you're having a cesarean birth versus a vaginal birth. So the first are these honey pot pads. So these are soothing and cooling, which even if you do not have a vaginal birth can feel great. And if you have pushed or labored, you might still have swelling in your labial area. You might have some discomfort, so these would feel great. And I think a lot of people don't realize that you still have postpartum bleeding after a cesarean birth just as you would after a vaginal birth, so having pads at home on hand, definitely handy. The other thing that they have that, you know, would be nice if you pushed, if you had any swelling, any discomfort in your vaginal perineal area, even with a cesarean birth, are these tucks. And then the other thing that these tucks are fabulous for are hemorrhoids. So if you've got the roid rage, if your booty is feeling sore, then you can tuck these. Is that why they're called tucks? I don't know. You can tuck them in between your butt cheeks right on that hemorrhoid. Now, with cesarean births, we know that sometimes you need narcotics for pain relief, and narcotics in and of themselves can be constipating, and with constipation can come hemorrhoids. So if you didn't have hemorrhoids with your pregnancy already, you could potentially develop some postpartum. So these will definitely help soothe that area. Throw them in the fridge for an extra good time on your bouquet. So now that we are digging down into the bag that I have packed, I want to show you the first thing that you could potentially use for your cesarean birth. So it comes with these great socks that say keep calm and push on. Now we're not literally pushing here, but we are figuratively pushing through a major abdominal surgery. And when you have a cesarean birth, you do need to wear socks into the operating room. Now these might be hospital provided socks, but my hospital allows you to wear your own socks if you would like. So I always love when people have fun little socks on. You also could wear these postpartum too, because you are going to be walking the halls pretty shortly after your cesarean birth. Typically, you'll get up to the chair on the first day, post-op day 0, and then by post-op day 1, you will be walking the halls. And walking the halls is going to be really, really important for your recovery. It's also going to help with gas pain. Now, something else that could potentially help with gas pain is going to be heat. Now, this bag comes with this great little pack that can be put in the freezer for ice, and it also can be put in the microwave for heat. Now, when people have gas pain after their cesarean birth, sometimes they feel it abdominally, but they also often feel it in a shoulder because it radiates up. So this is the perfect size to sit on a shoulder and give you some heat for some gas pain relief. And then you also can pop this in the freezer, and then it's really good ice for going over your incision as well, which can provide some relief there. Another tip that I have for gas pain, if you are developing it or if you're prone to it or if you develop it while you're in the hospital, a water bottle that does not have a straw. Sucking through a straw can potentially lead to increased gas and gas pain. So if you have a water bottle that has a top that pops off, that is great. And I also love if you have one that has the markings for how much fluid you're drinking. When we have a surgical birth, we are going to be keeping a much closer tally on our intake and our output, particularly in the first day or two post-op. Now, with that surgical birth, another thing that obviously is going to be something that we are concerned about is incisional pain. One thing that can cause us to feel kind of intense incisional pain is laughing, coughing, anything that can be jarring to that incision. And so we always recommend using a pillow to brace that area when you're coughing, laughing, sneezing, anything like that. Obviously, we have pillows in the hospital, but I always think it's nice to have something from home that's cozy and comfortable for you. Just make sure that you have a non-white pillowcase on it so it doesn't get mixed up. And a pro tip that I got from you guys is making sure that you have this pillow readily available for your ride home, so that any bump or jostle in the car, you can brace your incision so that it doesn't cause excess pain in the car. Another thing that can help with incisional pain and with discomfort when you're up and moving that I do not have on hand is an abdominal binder. So I have linked below several abdominal binders that are highly recommended by pelvic floor PTs. An abdominal binder is going to be something that you can wear when you're up and ambulating to provide some extra support to that incision to make you feel locked and loaded. It's not something that's supposed to make your uterus shrink down or to make you all of a sudden super skinny again. That's not the point, but it does provide some extra support for when you're up and moving. And I always provide them to my patients in the hospital. We have them. So call and ask, because your hospital might provide them for you. But if you are plus size, sometimes the ones provided in the hospital are not quite large enough to go all the way around you. So it's nice to bring one if you know that that might potentially be the case. Speaking of dealing with our incision, another thing that came very highly recommended from you guys is making sure that you brought comfortable pants or a dress or something like that to wear home. We want to avoid leggings or anything that's really tight on our incision. Granny panties were another recommendation for when we are home. So I just have a nice simple dress that I have packed in my bag that will be great for wearing home. Another thing that I actually am wearing right now is a romper that sits, the waist is nice and high at my belly button, so any sort of scar, which would be down here by my bikini line, would be totally free and not have anything irritating on top of it. That it's really helpful to bring for going home are comfy shoes that you can slip on. I love my plastic Birkenstocks. They also make great shower shoes. I think it's really nice to have shoes for the shower as well. So if you can have the same shoe, that's great. In the winter, if you're wanting something a little bit warmer, a nice Ugg or something that slips on easily that has a little bit of extra give if you have some swelling going on in your feet can be great. The clothing items that I have are a nursing bra and a nursing cami, and these are both from my very favorite brand that is in Target, Outden. The other thing that I have packed that I think will work great with any type of birth that you have is a robe. So in the hospital I mostly just wore a robe, which would be nice and loose and comfy on your incision, make it really easy for any fundal checks, incisional checks, and bleeding checks with either a tank or a bra. So that's my recommendation for in the hospital. The other thing that I have packed is toiletries. So I've got shampoo and conditioner in here because hospital shampoo and conditioner is the worst, as well as body wash and contact stuff, toothpaste, anything that you need. Pro tip: ask your nurse for a couple of cups if you're not yet getting up to brush your teeth so that you can swish and spit and we can throw those cups away for you. Another pro tip in the bathroom: when you go to take your first shower and you have taken your dressing potentially off of your incision, take a picture so that you know what it looks like. Have your partner take a picture so that you know what it looks like. You know when you go home if there's any deviations from that you need to notify your physician. And then another tip that somebody gave me as far as showering goes, I don't know that you necessarily need to bring this to the hospital, but I would buy this for yourself for afterwards, is a loofah on a stick so that you can really clean everywhere without having to do unnecessary bending and twisting that might feel uncomfortable on your incision. I have a couple other odds and ends in here. So Wumblekin provides chapstick and nipple balm, which is fabulous. Another tip for when you go home: have stations in the 2 areas of your house where you're going to be for the most part. So probably up in a bedroom and then down on your main floor, where you have everything you could possibly need in those 2 stations to function. So have all of your pain medications in both locations, all of the pads, all of the chapstick, all water cups, everything, so that you're not having to constantly go up and down the stairs. That can be really hard and tiring on your incision, and we don't really want you carrying baby up and down the stairs immediately post-operatively as well. Wumblekin does supply some hair ties, which are great. I think if you're going in for a planned cesarean birth, it can be really nice to have your hair braided, just so that when you're lying back, you don't have something big and uncomfortable on the back of your head. You can also wear your hair down, but it's nice to have it out of your face. You will be wearing a nice little lunch lady hat, as I like to call them. The other thing that I would pack for a cesarean birth, that I also would pack for a vaginal birth, because it is a very helpful thing to have on hand, is peppermint oil. Now, why do I love peppermint oil? Because it helps you pee after you've had a baby. Now, regardless of your mode of delivery, regardless of if you have an epidural, spinal, or nothing, sometimes peeing can be really difficult, either because you've just had a catheter removed or because you've had a baby pass through that location. And so peppermint oil, a few drops in the toilet, can help relax everything and help you go to the bathroom. The other thing that can help is running the water, sitting on the toilet and blowing into a strawed cup. They'll give you one in the hospital, like you're blowing bubbles. All relax your pelvic floor. Peppermint oil can also help with nausea, so it is a good one to have on hand. We don't want to be diffusing this though, because peppermint oil is not safe to diffuse around bebés under 2. Another thing that is a pro tip for nausea: we actually have started a new policy on my unit to help with post-operative nausea, and one of the things that we do is actually have people chew gum in the PACU. So that's where you recover from your cesarean birth for about 2 hours after. The other thing that might help with nausea, and might also just help in general, is having a fan at your bedside. So this is a fan that can be attached to a stroller as well, so it can be great for when you're taking walks with baby, just battery operated. But you are going to have some night sweats, some hormonal night sweats, and I find that they are worse with cesareans than they are with vaginal births, probably due to the excess fluid that you have gathered during your birth through IV fluids. Another random odd and end that I have in here are just some thank you cards. I loved when I packed thank you cards with my last birth. I was able to write all my thank you cards in the hospital, distribute them. My husband went out and got Starbucks gift cards, gave them to everybody, and then I was done, and I did not have to think another thing about it. Pro tip though, if you have an especially amazing nurse, write her a Daisy Award nomination. That will go both to her and to her manager, so it'll look good, she'll get recognition, and she could potentially win an award. I have a few little technology odds and ends. A really, really long phone charger is a fabulous to have, especially if you've had an abdominal birth and you don't want to be twisting and trying to grab your phone charger. Wrap this around the side rail so you've got it right there and you can plug your phone in easily and you have plenty of length. These also are great for when you get home and have plugged in next to wherever you're nursing so that you have something to look at 3 in the morning. I personally right now am watching The Witcher. I very much enjoy it. Rosie doesn't sleep, so I'll probably make it through that in just a day or two. Thanks, Rosie. Another thing that you can bring is like a little portable speaker so that you can listen to music, potentially if you would like to, in the operating room. A lot of places have portable speakers. My operating room does, but you can always bring your own and ask the anesthesiologist to play some relaxing music or whatever music you would like to welcome your baby into the world listening to. Now, as far as baby stuff is considered, Wumblekin also has you covered. So in this box, they have this adorable onesie that I cannot believe Rosie used to fit into. I think this would make a great going home outfit or just a hanging around in the hospital outfit, although I like to keep my babes naked so that we can do plenty of skin to skin. And then you also can bring a bow or a sweet little hat, anything you might want for pictures, and a pair of pants maybe for going home as well. The other couple of things that they have in here for babe are this amazing multi-use cover. So you can use this as a nursing cover, but my personal favorite way to use this is as a car seat cover. So we know that we don't want anything that affects how the car seat fits baby. It's not safe, it's not crash tested, but you can use this going back and forth to the car. You can use this, you know, in the grocery store, at the pediatricians, to keep germs off, to keep the cold weather off of them. You just want to take it off when you get into the car. So I love this. I use this often for us. The other thing that Wumblekin sends you home with that is one of my favorite things with a brand new baby is the Halo Sleep Sack Swaddles. So these are great because they have the Velcro and the zipper to keep baby extra snug and secure for swaddling, and then you have multiple ways that you can swaddle babies. So eventually when you're weaning from the swaddle, you can do one arm and then no arms. And then the two things that I have heard from you guys that you really appreciated having after your cesarean birth that I maybe perhaps had said before you do not need to bring are a breastfeeding pillow and a breast pump. So after you have a baby, if you've had a cesarean birth, you have that incision that's sore. The Breast Friend is my favorite breastfeeding pillow, and this is the one that's really nice because you can clip it on your body nice and high to get baby to the breast, and that way nothing is laying on your incision. You can use it for cross cradle. You can also use it for a football hold. Personally still love using just hospital pillows and kind of maneuvering with those, but I understand having this if you have an incision. So my advice for any type of birth, just pack this in the car. Don't necessarily bring it in, and then if you need it, it's there, but if you don't need it, it's not a necessary thing that you brought into the hospital. The other thing that a few people did recommend is bringing a breast pump. So sometimes with a cesarean birth, it can take a bit longer for your milk to come in. That, coupled with the fact that often if you've had an urgent, unscheduled cesarean birth due to fetal heart rate issues, you probably have gotten quite a bit of fluid. So your baby's first weight might be a little bit elevated above what it actually was because of that excess fluid. Then you're in the hospital for longer, your milk's taking longer to come in, so that we might reach that weight loss threshold where your pediatrician is thinking you might need to supplement. Now, we love supplementing with our own milk if possible. Many hospitals, in fact, most hospitals are going to have hospital grade pumps that you can use, but if your hospital doesn't, it's nice to have your breast pump on hand. But I definitely do think having a breast pump before you have your baby is great. In case you are having issues where you're needing to pump, not having to run out to Target after giving birth to go buy a breast pump is kind of nice. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I think the general rule of thumb is that you don't really need that many different things that you would versus a vaginal birth with a cesarean birth, which is nice because sometimes you go in not knowing that you're having a cesarean birth. The hospital hopefully will be able to supply many of the things that you need, but these things can be helpful if you know that you're going in for a scheduled cesarean birth. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, bye guys.